All right, I am back for part two of the recap of the campaign meeting that happened on Saturday, March 21st. I do apologize. I don't have the closed captioning on yet. I spent a lot of time doing that last night. And as I mentioned in the first video, the part one of this, it was too big and it didn't upload. So if you are seeing this video and you haven't actually seen the part one of the meeting recap, I do recommend you do that probably first and then get back to this one. So I was talking about being available to the community. And besides the parks that I talked about going to, I've also reached out to some restaurants, a coffee shop, and other places to see if they would be amenable to having me be there. Just say, I'm going to have lunch on such a time and date if anyone would like to join me. And I have found some that are open to that. I'm actually taking off from work on the week of April 20th. So that's where I'm earmarking for the lunches. But I also have plans to go to coffee shops and maybe other small places on weekends that are indoors. So we'll have the park time, but also an opportunity if people want to have lunch or coffee with me, they can. I do have to be clear the campaign cannot pay for their lunch or their beverages, but I will be available if they would like to speak. And of course, the goal of that is to give people as many opportunities as possible to connect with me. The idea is to allow people to make a wise decision for who they're going to vote for. So back to the hometown news profile piece for just a second. I was specifically asked not to discuss what I would do as a Board of Education member, just a very brief kind of statement with that. So I am planning to put more of that information on the flyers and the brochure. I want to help answer questions. The first thing that I do want to put out, however, is really the understanding that just like most people, I'm pretty much on the outside looking in. We don't know all the facts. I've been following as closely as I can. I've actually reached out to Uriah Cummings myself. I've had some communication with Mr. Saunders. There are board members I've talked with, but there's a lot of things that aren't entirely known. And so I don't want to go around saying, well, this shouldn't have happened, or, we need to do things this way instead, except to say we have to follow state code. That is the priority. That is the law. That is how decisions need to be made. I know Mr. Saunders has talked quite a lot about transparency. I want to extend what that transparency actually means. I don't think that we're necessarily seeing what we were hoping to see in this transition period. And I recognize it's very new. I recognize that in a lot of cases, with the state being in charge, what our superintendent is currently doing is probably being a messenger more than a decision maker. But we just need to really make sure that the county is following the law and that we're doing things in a proper way, not just because it's how it always has been. I understand there are very difficult decisions that have already been made and will continue to be made in the coming weeks and months and even years. The sad reality is, it's going to have a huge effect on some people's lives, and some of it we're not going to be able to stop. But my hope is to take this opportunity to actually right all the wrongs. As we go through, there's priority of things, but I hope that it opens the dialogue and the willingness to tackle long-standing issues and just make sure we're following state code, that we're doing things with integrity, with openness, proper, with students first, making sure that staff is supported in the way they need to be. So, and building up a positive culture. We need to get the morale back up. We need to unite our community and schools and just get back to the heart of what Hancock County can do. We have so many good people in Hancock County, in the schools, and in the community. And I truly believe that as we work through these difficulties, we'll be able to not only recover, but to do better than before. So, getting back to campaign needs, one of them is video editing. So, if there's anyone out there that has a skill with video editing and you would like to help out, let us know. This video that you're watching right now, as I mentioned, is me just doing a Zoom and then I'm uploading it to YouTube. This is not fancy and the videos don't really have to be fancy, but we do have some ideas for some that we would like to do that I think would be nice. We also have one person right now really working on graphics. So if you're, well, two, I guess, but if you want to help with graphics, I think that would be great. We also need to talk about the door-to-door campaign. So we talked about it briefly in the meeting. This is something I do not have experience with, but I do have at least a small handful of people that want to help the campaign that have done this before. So they will help with the planning, and then we need people helping with the implementing. The planning, of course, is looking at geographic locations and trying to figure out how we can assign regions so that people are not going to the same houses, at different times. I don't really want to do that, but I'm hoping that we get enough information out prior to the door-to-door campaigning that people will be like, "Oh, yeah, I've heard about her. Tell me some more," instead of just completely introducing me to people, but you never know. So, we definitely we'll be having some meetings with the organizers of that and then also with the people that are going to do the campaigning. The idea, of course, is to have materials in hand. So the flyer, the brochure, even the business card, when people are going to houses, they can leave these things with the people. I want to make a lot of effort with that throughout the month of April. Early voting begins on Wednesday, April 29th. Not really sure how many people do early voting or even mail-in voting with the absentee ballot, but I'm hoping that we can have enough information out ahead of April 29th that people are able to make an informed decision about me if they do go to early voting. We also want to get out information about the actual deadline, of May 12th for Election Day. It is a primary election, and I know some people think, well, in the primary, you're just deciding who goes on. But for the Board of Education specifically, this is it. May 12th is when the Board of Education will be decided. The term begins on July 1st. So while I think most people, well, I don't want to say most people. I know some people know this and some people don't. And it's just something that people need educated on to make sure that they are available to make the decisions that they want to make. And that leads me into the magisterial districts. With the Board of Education in particular, there is some misconception about voting. I have had quite a few people asking me questions about this. So we are preparing graphics for that. But just to make sure that so you can talk with people about it, this is what's going on. First of all, the Board of Education has 5 seats. It is always set up that there are some continuing members and some that, are open to run again or to bring in new members, just like we have in other parts of our government. You don't want a whole new team every time. So we have 2 people that are continuing. President Gillette and Board Member Swartzmiller are continuing on the board. Their term is not over. We have one incumbent that is still running for reelection, but of course he's not guaranteed. So the way that the Board of Education works is there are 5 members and there are 3 magisterial districts. There must be at least one person from each magisterial district on every board, and there can only be 2 from any magisterial district on any board. So we have Butler, Grant, and Clay. Those are decided by population. The line moves sometimes. People aren't always in the magisterial district that they think they are in. But honestly, that only matters if you're running, not if you're voting. You may vote for any person that's running for the board, regardless of where you live and regardless of where they live. What you do need to know is how to be strategic about it. Because we already have a continuing board member from Grant and a continuing board member from Butler, only one more person from either of those can even be on the board. So for instance, if you really like 2 people running for Grant, you're going to have to decide who you really want in because only one can make it no matter what. Same thing with Butler. There's already someone on. So if you really like 2 people from Butler, well, only one's going to make it. Now for Clay, you actually can vote in two people because the incumbent is not continuing unless he gets reelected. So the way that that works is there may be one more from Butler or none on the new board. There may be one more from Grant or none on the new board. And there may be two new members from Clay or just one, but there has to be at least one. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't and you need more information about that, let me know. But people have asked, like, can I vote for you? I don't live in your area. Are you competing against this person or that person? And my answer is, well, yes, and sort of yes. I mean, no matter where you live, you can vote for me, as long as you're in Hancock County, of course. But you also, have to consider what I just said. Like, technically, I'm competing against the other people in Clay, but two of us can win. And then, me being in Clay is not going to impact how you vote for someone from Butler or from Grant. So, my thoughts on this is really research the candidates and no, you can vote for three people. You can vote for two, or you can vote for only one. Just because there's three spots does not mean you need to vote for three people. I think this is an extremely important election, so you just need to make choices that you think are good, strong choices. So, however you feel about that, I'd say go with it as long as you understand it. Oh no, I'm going over time. Okay. That's pretty much it. Let me look real quick. I want to make sure this one does not get cut off. Okay, there is actually another thing that I talked about. And so I'm going to end this video now, and then I'm going to talk about Hancock County schools as far as like who can run for election and how that all works. So stand by for part 3.